Taos in Baltimore. Need a towel from my man Luke Jones, who's been trying to make heads or tails of all of this, and it's been sort of ongoing ever since the non-tampering period, if you're following along on the internet. Brandon Williams, late into the evening on Thursday night, stayed with the Baltimore Ravens. Lots of comings and goings, and of course then there are the Redskins. We'll get to them. I promise we're going to make fun of the Redskins today. Luke Jones joins us live via satellite. Hey, I don't know that I'm shocked by the Brandon Williams thing, but I am sort of heartened that they think he's a premier player and that they felt like he was going to be a guy they were going to chase, as opposed to what we've seen for the last decade, which is a lot of guys go out the side door because it's a little too rich for Ozzy's blood.
Well, he was rich. I mean, they didn't get him cheap. There's no doubt about that.
They paid market value, right, exactly.
There was no hometown discount here. He's the highest paid nose tackle in the NFL now. He got easily surpassed what Damon Harrison got last year as a free agent with the New York Giants. So I respect the fact that the Ravens identified a guy that they clearly thought was going to be their top priority to sign. Eric DeCosta, when he made his comments at the Senior Bowl back in January, made it very clear that Brandon Williams was that A player that they needed to keep. So they were able to do that.
John Harbaugh said that to me too. John and I had a conversation a couple months ago, and John said to me, we're going to offer him a lot of money. It was like one of those, we're not just going to let him walk out of here. I mean, that was kind of the feeling I had, and I even believe that, but I believe that to the point where somebody else would start knocking on Ndamukong Suh's stupid money, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a lot of money. I mean, I credit the Ravens. I hope this works out. I do have my concerns as far as, they just pumped $90 million into essentially their run defense. I mean, I think Tony Jefferson is a good signing. I think if they use him creatively, he can be a really nice asset for that defense. Excellent stopping the run. Certainly good enough in coverage. And we know what Brandon Williams can do, but we also know what Brandon Williams doesn't do. He doesn't get after the quarterback. He's not Haloti Ngata. I think you do go back and look at that Haloti Ngata contract, and look, everyone was thrilled about that at the time, but you probably look back at that contract and just say it was an okay return relative to what the Ravens gave him, which I think at the time was, 5 years, $61 million.
I don't know how you get good value on any of these guys other than Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like, I really don't know how Ndamukong Suh has made the Dolphins $20 million, but I think we could say that because it's such a team game, right? I mean, your run defense can be unbelievable, but here you are, like 5 minutes after the signing, saying, all right, we got a run defense. Now, who's going to stop the pass? That becomes – and who are you going to throw the ball to, and who's going to run the ball now that Kenneth Dixon's on the show? I mean, this has been a wacky week for everyone, not just the Redskins, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's true. And look, I mean, the Ravens are shaping up to have an excellent run defense, but the thing is, they had that last year. I mean, as much as they struggled over the final few games, let's not forget that this defense in totality was really good when Jimmy Smith was on the field. So I understand wanting to keep Brandon Williams. I give them credit for having the conviction to get it done, no matter what the price was. But at the same time, what are they doing about the offense? This is shaping up, and look, they can make some more cuts, they can clear some more space, but at the same time, most of the impact-type receivers that were out on the market are gone now. Is this going to be another off season where Ozzie Newsome's using the spare change that he finds in the couch to try to improve the offense?
They used their number one pick 2 years ago. Let's if we're going to talk about the collateral and the things they put on the table, they've put some resources into that, and obviously the Steve Smith thing was a resource for them a couple of years ago as well. They've spent some money. They spent money last year in the free agent market. They've spent draft picks. So every year they've systematically done money or a high pick trying to get Joe somebody to throw the football to, right?
Well, you can talk about the efforts, and look, Ronnie Stanley looks like that's working out perfectly, but that's because Eugene Monroe, that contract did not work out. Brashad Perriman, we'll see. So
you're right; they are having to erase mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, Brock Osweiler's a Brown.
I I hate the fact that they re-signed Brandon Williams, but I do have concerns. Brandon Williams was already on this football team. It's kind of like 2 off seasons ago when we talked about the Orioles re-signing Chris Davis. That's great.
It doesn't make you better. That makes you as is.
Right. And I think a move like this, just personally speaking, I love way more if you're, say, 11-5 and you're trying to maintain and you don't have major issues to address. But you look at what they've done so far. Tony Jefferson, I'll check it off. Clear upgrade over Laverius Webb, no doubt. And he's young. He's 25. I really like that about that signing. Brandon Williams is 28. You hope he's one of those defensive tackles that ages well. You hope he's more Vince Wilfork than a guy that gets to 30 and isn't the same force.
Well, the way you explained Jefferson, I thought was phenomenal on Thursday, Luke, which was, hey, if Matt Elam had panned out and been a good safety, this would have been the money they would have had to give him.
Sure.
And instead, they got a real Matt Elam instead of the fake Matt Elam, right? I mean, and I would say the same thing. If Brandon Williams was the first-round draft pick 4 years ago, and they gave him the requisite $3.8 million a year, whatever it would have been to have been the 17th pick in the draft or whatever, and he panned out to be this guy, they would still have to pay him the same way they paid Elodie Nada, the same way they had to go second contract on Suggs and on Flacco and on everybody else. I mean, this is the turning point for all of these franchises and all these players, which is, all right, I'm an elite player now. I'm a guy you don't want to lose. I'm a guy 5 other teams want. Do you want me to stay or do you want me to go? And in Kelechi Osemele, they said go, right? In Arthur Jones, they said go. And Paul Kruger, they said go. And Pernell McPhee, they said go. This was the one time they said, no, stay. But part of him staying is that he made even more money than any of those cats because he was going to get more money than that in the market.
Yeah, now, was there another team out there that was going to ultimately pay him more money than what the Ravens ultimately got it done with? There was rumors about the Giants at one point. There were reports on Thursday about Tennessee being interested. Never got an indication that they were in it to the degree that the Ravens were. And it's clear that Brandon Williams,
Brandon told his agent, keep me in Baltimore. That's pretty kind of obvious, right? I mean, let's work to the finish line.
The highest paid nose tackle in the NFL. I mean, again, he didn't give them a hometown discount here. So,
but nor should he have.
Sure. And I'm not, I said at the Super Bowl when we talked to him that I wouldn't expect him to do that. I mean, get every penny you can get.
But he did want to be with the Ravens. I mean, so did Torrey Smith. Let's be honest. The first time around, Torrey didn't really want to leave. But at various points, this organization in this century, in the modern era, against the cap, tell me the day that they woke up with $100 million and could just go sign anybody. They've never had that ability because they've drafted so well. And Ogden and Lewis and Reed and Suggs and Nada were always hitting their head on the top of, and now it's Yonda and Flacco, and now Brandon Williams and Jimmy Smith to some degree. They're all considered or paid to be top shelf. You're going to pay the $40 a bottle for them. You're not getting them for $18.99.
Sure. Although you look at what the guard market has looked like, I mean, the Ravens extending Yonda in 2015 looks like an absolute bargain, and Yonda's older. He's not 27 years old.
And he had his own issues last year, admittedly, right?
Yeah, so you keep that in mind. But again, it's important for them that they were able to keep one of their own. I think that probably factored into this. I still very much have my concerns as far as the number of resources and the resources they have and the assets that are out there to continue to make the improvements they need to make on both sides of the ball. Keep in mind, the run defense fine, but you got to replace Elvis Dumervil. You got to improve that pass rush. And I mean what Elvis Dumervil was a couple years ago. Not saying that they shouldn't have gotten rid of him. I don't disagree with that move, but they're still looking to the pass rush. Whether it's a free agent they bring in. Connor Barwin got let go by the Eagles, but he's a guy that's kind of been on the decline a little bit the last couple years, like Elvis Dumervil. See what the price is there.
Dwight Freeney's going to play till he's 50, but
I'm not sure I'd be going after him as
So's
my
Harrison,
top.
by the way. Yeah, I mean, some of these guys really. It starts to make me think like maybe Suggs could play 3 more years if he got a little leaner and did nothing but just get after the quarterback. And he was a 25 down guy 3 years from now, running around for the Lions or something. I mean, that is now a position that has like a left-handed reliever to some degree in baseball. I mean, you have some longevity if that's what you do, and you can still do it well, and you can hold up and have some speed and have some pull about you.
Yeah, but part of Suggs' value isn't just as a pass rusher. I mean, he plays the run so well.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of.
I don't mean to be unfair to him. I'm just saying, I kind of thought 2 years ago after the second leg, he would not be playing in the 2017 season. He is. They're paying him fairly to do that instead of running around, and we're seeing these other veteran guys. Elvis Dumerville's going to play for somebody in the league this year. And the weirdest part about Elvis Dumerville now that he's such a small guy. Like when you stand next to him, he doesn't look like he belongs in the linebackers meeting. He looks more like he belongs in the safety meeting, quite frankly.
Well, I mean, but he was always a situational guy. I mean, he was a 4-3 defensive end.
Well, until they had to throw him out there for 90 snaps 2 years ago and wear him down, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, but getting back to the point I was trying to make, I mean, they still they got to improve the pass rush. They're still looking for a cornerback. I'll say this. They've been linked to Morris Claiborne of the Cowboys. This guy's more injury prone than Jimmy Smith. I mean, if it's a cheap deal, fine, but this is a guy who hasn't played more than 11 games in a season since his rookie year in 2012. So, we'll see. They still have some work to do to the defense. The run defense looks excellent. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to try to dismiss that, and that's important. I don't want to say it isn't, but at the same time, going into the off season, we talked about Brandon Williams. We talked about the fact that they had depth at defensive tackle. The Ravens have always been able to find players to play along the defensive line and play at a high level. I hear people cite the Ravens' run defense statistics with Brandon Williams in the lineup. The Ravens have always had good run. I mean, in their 21-year existence, you could count on one hand the number of years where they didn't stop the run well. So
that is a good point, right? I mean, like over the history of the team, this has always been a really quiet, important part of what they do, and it's been quiet because Nada's been there, or Goose and Sam Adams were there. That they had that guy, and I think if they think in 2020 Brandon Williams will be 29 or whatever, and he'll still be that guy, then they made a good investment. And he's a good locker room guy. He's a leadership guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a statement to be said, well, at least, we have an anchor guy now that we consider an anchor guy in the middle of our defense who hasn't been breaking down, who's going to be a good guy for any of the young people we bring in. That's good on them. Good on them.
Yeah, sure. Again, with my tone, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have brought back Brandon Williams, but I am.
There's a cost. That's it.
But there's a cost to this. It was a major cost, and I do have my concerns that they're going to be able to adequately address their many other needs that they have on both sides of the ball. I mean, to this point, their offense, which, let's face it, stunk last year. I mean, it did. Steve Smith is retired. Kamar Aiken's out on the market. There's been no discussion as far as where he might wind up, whether there's some chance of him coming back or whether he ends up elsewhere. Rick Wagner's gone to Detroit, so they need a starting right tackle. Kyle Juszczyk, certainly don't endorse paying him the kind of money that San Francisco is going to pay him, but that's another need that they need to address. I like the Woodhead signing from a potential standpoint, but he's also 32 and coming off of an ACL injury, so I don't think you can view that as an absolute definite upgrade there. So, I see why they did it, especially with the news of Kenneth Dixon being popped for 4 games for violating the performance. Yeah,
there's more news than we can even chunk in here. We haven't even gotten to the Redskins yet, which is my favorite part.
I know, right?
That's my favorite part of the show.
That
or the Browns with Brock. I mean, there's comedy in all of this as well, Luke. You have to find it,
Well, to be totally honest, and people are going to mock this, I kind of like what the Browns are trying to do at this point. Now, none of it matters until they get their quarterback, but But anyway, just going back to the Ravens, the offense clearly needs major work, and to this point, they've signed Danny Woodhead, and they've lost their starting right tackle, and they still don't have a receiver. They did keep Mike Wallace, but again, he's someone who was already on the team. So
Ozzie would remind you we don't have to play March 15th.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. But, well, I'd remind him, your offense was your major problem last year. Your defense was pretty good. Really good until the final few games, and I don't think
if you could have kept Jimmy Smith upright, you would have made the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, literally.
Or at least
I mean, all the hand-wringing we do about how awful the Ravens are, what a bad year they had, and all that. I mean, if Jimmy Smith stays upright in the Giants game, the Cowboys, and they paid him to do so, and this is, the best laid plans of mice and men, right? I mean, if Derek Carr would have stayed upright in Oakland, who knows what we're talking about, right?
Sure. So it's just a reminder that keep in mind what the real problems were last year. I get it. The defense struggled over the final 3 or 4 games, but in totality, the Ravens were in the playoff hunt way more because their defense played well over the course of the season than anything that their offense did. So, that's just it's not that I don't like Brandon Williams. It's not that I don't think it was important to re-sign him, but there's a cost to that, and when you have as many needs as the Ravens have, given a $55 million contract to a nose tackle that doesn't pressure the quarterback, I think it's fair to at least have some reservations about that.
Well, you have to think you must like Zadarius Smith more than we think you do, or or maybe they didn't like Carl Davis that much, or maybe the whole Lawrence Guy thing. Look, this was their priority. They're really happy about it, right? I mean, they all got in rooms the last 3 months and said, we need that guy, and unless he gets assembly money, and it goes $2 or $3 million the wrong way every year, let's keep him around here. So, for that, I'm respectful of that. And now, to your point, okay, what's next now? You kept the guy you had. You haven't made the team any better. Literally haven't made the team any better. As a matter of fact, we can make a great case that if they had to go play March 15th, they're not as good. And I think maybe to a man they would all agree with that. But then the question is, where are these players they've been hiding, these draft picks, these Correas, the other guys, are they going to make it onto the field? And there's a whole litany of the Buck Allens and those type of guys that have moved to the back of the depth chart now, and the Max Williams to say they might never get onto the field in any meaningful way, much like we were waiting on Matt Elam a year ago, and we saw where that went, right?
Right. And to your point, I think the defense is better now. I think Jefferson is a clear upgrade over Ladarius Webb. Now, you could make the argument, they cut Elvis Dumervil. Well, Elvis Dumervil really didn't give them a whole lot this past year. Let's call a spade, and I'm a big Dumervil fan. So the defense, is it dramatically better? No, but I think it's a little bit better than it was last year as it stands right now, with the acknowledgement that they need to add another corner, with the acknowledgement that they need to see if they can find a pass rusher, and probably the highest end potential there is going to be in the draft for both of those positions. So we'll see how that plays out. This draft very deep with cornerbacks and edge rushers, so I like the Ravens' chances there. But offense, that'll be my theme throughout the remainder of this offseason, as you pointed out. A long way to go. The Ravens do have some cuts they can make to clear more cap space, but are they going to identify the right players? And for as much as their track record speaks for itself with what they've done defensively for the better part of 2 decades, I'll point to the offense and say not as much success, and certainly certain positions like wide receiver where you say, well, they've been a failure in many ways. So, it's we will see how it plays out. Again, the defense looking to be in good shape at this stage, really good shape at this early stage of the off season. But this offense needed a ton of work. Lost its right tackle, it's lost its fullback, lost its its possession receiver due to retirement. So when you talk about those losses and having watched what that offense was with those guys this past year, offense has a long way to go. But good news is, as you pointed out, a long way to go until they're playing even fake football games. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think it's very clear, if we can all agree on anything, it's expect a couple more cuts here probably in the near future. Ladarius Webb. We'll see what happens with Dennis Pitta. We'll see what happens with Benjamin Watson. I think the restricted, all their restricted free agents they gave the low tender to, they can rescind any of those at any time and clear, just under $2 million for any of those individuals. So there's room to be created still. They have ways to do that.
Well, Webb would be the next creation, right?
Yeah, he's certainly. I'd be stunned if he's back on anything that's not a significant pay cut. And frankly, I don't know if he'd be willing to do that. And
frankly, I don't know if the Rams are going to give him more money, though, right? I mean, that's really the question for all of them is to say, well, if I'm going to stick around here, let's stick around here. If I'm really going to get a real deal with the Packers, then I'll go. And that's what the agents are all doing right now. And, some of this is saving face to some degree, too,
sure.
That if he's going to stick around in his best deal and he doesn't want to move, and the Ravens really do want him as a nickel guy, and they want to keep him around, and they have a number on him that's the same number or, as good a number as anywhere he's going to go, it's better than doing what other people have done, which is hit the street and then come back in April and have all of that going on,
Yeah, but on the flip side, I mean, as much as I've been critical of Webb over the last couple of years at times, and I think we all agree he wasn't the player that he was earlier in his career, he played pretty well in the second half of the season compared to the first 7-8 games.
He's still an NFL player. He's
still,
he's not a 60-snap guy, right, at corner, but...
Yeah, with him, as much as you might talk about the fact that Tony Jefferson's an upgrade at safety, and he clearly is, and he's 5 years, 6 years younger, Webb might look at it and say, okay, I could take a pay cut here and play a lesser role, or I could go somewhere else, and I'm not going to make what I'm making right now, but I'm not going to be making what I'm scheduled to make right now anywhere, so maybe I do go somewhere else and try to catch on as a starting safety. I think he played well enough last year that he could go to some other teams and be a starting safety. So we'll see how it plays out. As I discussed this with Dennis. We talked about this when they initially agreed to terms with Tony Jefferson. I still think there's some possibilities that you might see them use the dime package a little bit more, especially with Zach Orr gone, knowing that finding linebackers that are astute in coverage isn't always easy to do. So I wouldn't be stunned to see them play a little bit more dime in some sub packages. Slide Jefferson down to almost be like a dime linebacker covering tight ends. And
well, the Steelers and the Bengals are always multiple anyway.
Well, I mean, you have to be multiple. I mean, you have to be in this day and age in the NFL. You can't just play defense straight up unless you have really special guys at every position and expect it to work out. So, but under that scenario where if you play some dime and you slide Jefferson there, maybe you keep Ladarius Webb, or maybe a guy that you just tendered like Mark Weston Huff, maybe he becomes a guy that becomes a situational guy in the defense. He's young. Certainly wouldn't be a huge role, but it would be a role nonetheless. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, long story short, if the Ravens are going to continue to make signings, and look, I don't expect any more big signings. I think they can clear some space to have a moderate kind of signing with some other small signings. But to me, it's very obvious at this point, Brandon Williams and Tony Jefferson are their big-ticket items of the offseason. So you'll see what happens second, third tier of free agency, as we're kind of already into that, as funny as it sounds.
Feels to me like they have to get a corner in the draft, like that first pick, I'm looking at corner and then everything else, in my opinion, because I don't think you get wide receivers on the field quick enough. Certainly they haven't gotten tight ends on the other places they have need. Maybe a right tackle, but that'd have to feel special, too, at the middle of the first round, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is considered a poor tackle class. That's why Rick Wagner got the money he got. That's why some of these other tackles that we've seen, some guys who, frankly, had bad years last year, even getting big money. So, I think corner, I think edge rusher. If Corey Davis slides to them at 16, I could see them taking a receiver like that. But, that's a big if that he's going to get there. I guess you could say Philadelphia is probably not going to take a receiver now after taking Alshon Jeffrey, or signing Alshon Jeffrey and signing Torrey Smith as well. So, we'll see. Still a lot of work to be done, but I think the point you made is a good one. The Ravens had their conviction about how important it was to keep Brandon Williams. Is it a price that I would have gone to? Probably not, but at the same time, I'm not running an NFL franchise, and for as much as the Ravens maybe have not reached the level of success over the last 3 or 4 years that they are accustomed to, they've still done a lot right for a long time, so you give them the benefit of the doubt. But I will remind everyone, offense is worse than it was a year ago, and that's saying a lot considering where it was. So a lot of work to be done on that side of the ball, but certainly the defense is trending in the right direction.
And then there's the quarterbacks all weekend long. I mean, from Garoppolo and Romo through what happened with Osweiler and the Browns. I mean, you're going to need a really big bowl of popcorn, and I don't just mean for the Big Ten tournament this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see. I mean, it's very clear that Houston getting rid of Osweiler, I mean, in what really amounted to an NBA kind of trade. I mean, you see these kind of deals in the NBA. To some degree, you see it in baseball. I mean, we've even seen the Orioles trade competitive picks, competitive balance picks to dump $2 or $3 million of salary. But this was a pretty substantial move just from a creativity standpoint that the Browns made, and very clear. I think Houston's eyeing trying to get Tony Romo and see how that plays out. The Bears let Jay Cutler go. They bring in Glennon, which interesting, especially at the price that they're paying him. So you see how that plays out, and it's
they're the Bears. It's the wrong move. They're the Browns. It's the wrong move. They're the Texans. It's the wrong move. Trust me, it always is the wrong move. I've seen this play.
Yeah, I mean it's hard not to think that. And then meanwhile, you have a team that fired its general manager on the first day of a free agent, official first day of the free agent signing period. Just incredible. I mean, every time you think the Washington is trending in the right way, looking like they're more stable than they've been under Dan Snyder, then you see how this has played out. And I think as much as you just laugh at the situation of getting rid of your GM on the first day of free agency, really Bush League kind of comments that were made to the Washington Post about him, about his battle with alcohol, and there were even some reports, and I saw some of the Post reporters even talking about how there was a thought that there was jealousy within that front office, within that building, that they were going to use his demons, his past with alcohol as a way to get rid of him at some point, and sure enough, they did it. And I'm glad that's not my problem. Let's put it that way. I think Ravens fans, whether you agree with what the Ravens are doing or not, whether you're happy with where the state of the franchise is and the fact that they've missed the playoffs 3 out of 4 years, and look, they have their issues. They got to get better. There's no doubt about that. But you take a look at what's happened in Washington over these, the way this has played out over the last couple of weeks, and you thank your lucky stars that the Ravens.
Dan Snyder doesn't own my team. Hey, but it is baseball season. I mean, we have our own creepy owner up here. I mean, that'll all get going in 3 weeks.
That's true, but the Orioles also the winningest team in the AL over the last 5 years, so they've managed to make it work better than I guess Washington.
I don't know. The Redskins have won the last couple of years, so I mean, even the blind squirrel finds the nut, right? I mean, I don't. They're not the Browns on the field, but they're heading in that direction. Once again, I guess.
Incredible to see how that played out. And like I said, shameful the way that was handled. How do you go from saying a guy had a death in the family and that he was away and that he was going to be back, and then you say you're firing him and you're not going to comment.
Well, they're serial liars. I mean the people that pull the lampshades down and sequester the media out in the parking lot and ban media members, those are the people who are hiding something. That's what I've always said about Angelos. That's, if you have nothing to hide, you're not afraid of the question. And the Redskins are run as a paranoia organization and kind of always have been.
Meanwhile, they have a quarterback who you can debate how good Kirk Cousins is, but he's a good quarterback.
He's begging to leave.
That he wants to leave. They've lost their top 2 wide receivers. They already lost their offensive coordinator. I mean,
please let me out. I'll go play for the Browns. I'll go anywhere.
He wants to go to San Fran. I mean, that's Mike Silver. I know has talked about that a lot on NFL Network, and clearly familiar with Kyle Shanahan from earlier in his career, and be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Hey, look, I want to go to San Francisco too, but I'm stuck here with you and the Big Ten this weekend.
But
Caps were there Thursday night. It would have been a good night to be there.
No doubt. But Ravens fans, as much as there's still work to do, you look to that situation. I think you wake up, morning after signing Brandon Williams, whether it was too much or not, whether you're concerned or not about all their other needs, still feel a lot better about things than local fans are. Washington, Redskins fans are thinking about their team right now.
All right, my dude. We got Big Ten. The Wizards and the Caps kept me up in the middle of the night, getting their butts kicked Thursday night out in San Jose. Maybe the Wizards, or excuse me, the Terps make it a better weekend. Of course, the Orioles on TV, and the NFL free agent thing is just playing out moment by moment. Brandon Williams stays, Ricky Wagner goes, Kyle Juszczyk goes. We'll see Torrey Smith's in Philadelphia. We'll see Brock Osweiler's in Cleveland. So things have already started. I'm sure by Sunday we'll have many, many more things to talk about, including bracketology coming on Sunday. He is Baltimore Luke out on Twitter, as well as Luke at WNST.net. I'm Nasty at WNST.net. Working hard for the money heading into the weekend here and the cherry blossoms and trying to have a little bit of fun and mix it up before opening day around here. Nasty at WNST.net finds me Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And if you're on the WNST text service all week, you know how active it's been. It sounded like a pinball machine. Old Luke's got you going day and night because news is happening. It's a big, big news weekend. The brackets are coming. We're on it, and we're going to be out in social media all weekend long. Don't forget head coach Barry Trotz of the Rock the Reds joining us at Greenmount Station next Monday night. That's the 20th of March. We'll be swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry, catching up with Trotzy, and looking for a Stanley Cup run. Please, just one time, let me hoist the chalice. I'm Nestor. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.